Hello everyone, kindly hit the subscribe button on your screen and let me know where you are watching from in the comments. The snow fell quietly on Fifth Avenue as Jonathan Blake stepped out of his evening business meeting. At 37, he'd grown accustomed to these late nights, the endless negotiations that built his commercial development empire. His dark hair was touched with early flecks of silver, not from age, but from the weight of ambition that had hollowed him from the inside out. The gold watch on his wrist counted minutes he'd never get back, moments sacrificed to boardrooms instead of living rooms. Success had made him wealthy but left him impoverished in ways that didn't appear on balance sheets. The anniversary of his mother's death had passed last week, unmarked, uncelebrated, another memory sacrificed to quarterly projections. "Excuse me, sir." The voice was so small that Jonathan nearly missed it. Looking down, he found himself staring into eyes the color of a summer sky, wide with terror. A little girl, no more than 4, stood shivering in the gathering snow. Her reddish-blonde curls escaped a worn knit cap, and her puffy beige coat hung awkwardly on her tiny frame. The red dress beneath it was wrinkled, her boots slightly too large. There was something about her face that stirred a memory, a photograph in his mother's album perhaps, of innocence before it learned to doubt. "Are you lost, sweetheart?" Jonathan crouched down, his expensive wool trousers soaking up melting snow. For once, he didn't care about the cost. The little girl's lip quivered, and her words came out as a whisper that would change everything. "I can't wake up my mom." Jonathan felt the world tilt beneath him. Those 5 words pierced through the carefully constructed armor he'd built around his heart since the day he'd found his own mother unconscious on their kitchen floor. Too late then. Perhaps not too late now. "What do you mean you can't wake her up?" His voice emerged steadier than he felt. "Where is she?" "At home." Her voice broke. "I tried and tried, but she won't open her eyes. She's on the floor by the couch." Tears cut paths down her wind-reddened cheeks. Not the performative tears of a child seeking attention, but the silent, desperate ones of someone who's seen too much, too young. "I got scared. I remembered she said, if there's ever an emergency, go find help. So I put on my coat and came outside, but everyone just walks past me." Jonathan's heart constricted painfully. He knew about being invisible, had perfected the art himself, but not like this. Never like this. "What's your name, honey?" "Sophia." Sophia Martinez. The name struck him like a physical blow. Martinez. Like his mother's maiden name. Like the grandmother he'd never met, who died bringing his mother into the world. The coincidence froze him momentarily before urgency reclaimed his focus. "Okay, Sophia. I'm Jonathan. Can you show me where you live? Can you take me to your mom?" Her small mittened hand found his, her trust both a blessing and a burden. She led him away from the gleaming towers of his world into shadowed streets he pretended not to see from his penthouse windows. The brownstone was dying by inches, its dignity fading like an old photograph. Sophia fumbled with a key on a string, her tiny fingers numb with cold and fear. The stairs creaked accusations with each step. "Where were you when it mattered? Why do you notice suffering only when it stands directly in your path?" The apartment was small but curated with love, a fortress built from meager resources but rich imagination. Children's drawings covered one wall, their exuberant colors defying the apartment's limitations. A modest Christmas tree in the corner bore handmade ornaments, pine cones painted gold, paper stars, a tiny angel with Sophia's face carefully drawn on it. And there, exactly as Sophia had described, lay a woman on the worn carpet beside a threadbare couch. Jonathan recognized death's shadow hovering. He'd seen it once before, in another life, over another mother. His fingers found her pulse, faint but present. Her features were delicate despite the exhaustion etched into every line, her light brown hair partially escaped from a practical braid. Her skin burned with fever beneath his touch. "Sophia, I need to call for help." "Okay." The single word carried absolute faith that he could fix this, that he was enough. It terrified him. As he called 911, the apartment revealed its secrets, medical bills stamped with urgent red warnings, an empty prescription bottle, a calendar dense with double shifts. A life balanced on the knife edge of catastrophe. The paramedics arrived with practiced efficiency, their questions revealing the diagnosis: diabetic shock, complicated by flu and exhaustion. As they loaded Rebecca onto the stretcher, Jonathan caught Sophia watching her mother with an ancient fear no child should know, the fear of becoming utterly alone in the universe. "We're taking her to St. Mary's," the lead paramedic announced. St. Mary's. The same hospital where Jonathan's mother had died 12 years ago to the day. The symmetry was too perfect, too cruel to be coincidence. At the hospital, Jonathan held Sophia in the waiting room, her small body curled against him like a wounded bird. His assistant had called 3 times, he'd silenced the phone without answering. "Do you have any other family?" he asked gently. "Grandparents? An aunt or uncle?" Sophia shook her head against his chest. "Just Mommy. My daddy went away before I was born. Mommy says he wasn't ready to be a daddy." The word struck a nerve. Jonathan's own father had walked out when he was 6, leaving his mother to work herself to exhaustion. The day she collapsed, the day Jonathan found her too late, she'd been working 3 jobs to pay for his college applications. A social worker appeared, clipboard in hand, kind eyes belied by the exhaustion beneath them. "I'm Mrs. Patterson," she said. "Sophia, honey, can you tell me what happened tonight?" As Sophia recounted her story, Jonathan learned the details. Rebecca worked nights at a care facility across town. The flu had lingered for days, but missing shifts meant missing rent. Tonight, after a double shift, her body had surrendered to what her will would not. "I'll need to place Sophia in temporary foster care until her mother recovers," Mrs. Patterson said quietly to Jonathan. "There's no other family." "No." The word escaped him like something feral, surprising them both with its intensity. In his mind, he saw another child, himself, sitting in a similar waiting room as strangers decided his fate. The system that was supposed to protect had instead taught him to never need protection, to build walls instead of bridges. "I mean, isn't there another option? I'll stay with her, or she could come with me." His voice dropped to a whisper. "You can't just send her off with strangers right now." Mrs. Patterson's eyebrows rose. "Mr. Blake, I appreciate your concern, but we have procedures. You're not family. You're not even an acquaintance. Then I'll hire lawyers who can challenge those protocols." The fierceness in his voice surprised even him. This child just saved her mother's life by being brave enough to ask a stranger for help. "I won't let her be traumatized further." What he didn't say: "I know what happens when the system takes over. I know what it means to wake up in strange houses with strange rules. I know what it costs to survive it." 2 hours and several phone calls later, Jonathan had temporary guardianship of Sophia. His reputation, his resources, and perhaps the universe's strange sense of timing had aligned to make the impossible possible. "Can we see my mommy first?" Sophia's voice was small but determined. Rebecca was awake when they entered, though barely. When she saw Sophia, something broke open in her face, relief and guilt and love so fierce it was almost unbearable to witness. "Baby, I'm so sorry," she whispered. "You were so brave. So brave." "This is Mr. Jonathan," Sophia announced. "I found him on the street and he helped us. He's going to take care of me until you get better." Rebecca's eyes met Jonathan's over her daughter's head. In them, he saw everything she wouldn't say aloud: fear that her child would be taken, shame at needing help, and beneath it all, the desperate hope that this stranger might be trustworthy. "I'll keep her safe," Jonathan promised quietly. "I'll bring her to visit every day." Rebecca reached out a trembling hand. When Jonathan took it, he felt calluses from work no manicure could hide. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't understand why you're doing this, but thank you." He couldn't explain that he was paying a debt 12 years overdue. That he was trying to save one mother because he couldn't save his own. That somehow, in Sophia's brave blue eyes, he'd recognized a reflection of his forgotten self. That night, Jonathan's penthouse felt like a museum, beautiful, sterile, preserving a life not actually lived. Sophia stood in his living room, still wearing her backpack-like armor, looking at his chrome and glass furnishings with polite confusion. "Are you hungry?" he asked, suddenly aware that his refrigerator contained nothing a child should eat. Sophia shook her head. "I'm sleepy, but I don't have my bed." The guest room, designed for business associates who never came, offered no comfort to a child. Jonathan gathered pillows and blankets, building a nest on the floor. As Sophia crawled into it, something inside him shifted, as if a door long locked had creaked open. "Jonathan," she said as he turned to leave. "Will you stay until I fall asleep? I get scared in new places." He settled beside her makeshift bed, his back against the wall. When Sophia reached for his hand, he remembered his mother doing the same in her hospital bed, the last time he'd allowed himself to be needed. "My mommy sings to me," Sophia murmured. "But I know you probably don't know the songs." Jonathan's throat tightened. There was one song, his mother's song, that he'd buried with her. The one she sang when nightmares came or when bill collectors called. "I might know a few," he said, and began to hum softly. The melody felt strange on his lips, like a language almost forgotten. But as Sophia's breathing deepened into sleep, the song came back to him, every word, every pause, every promise embedded in its verses. He stayed there, holding her hand, watching this child who'd walked through a snowstorm to save her mother. In the dim light, he confronted the truth he'd spent years avoiding. In building his empire, he'd walled himself inside a fortress where nothing could touch him, neither pain nor joy. The following days transformed Jonathan's life in ways no business deal ever had. He cleared his schedule, mystifying his board of directors. He learned about dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets, about the politics of preschool friendships, about how a child's laughter could fill empty spaces he hadn't known existed inside him. Each hospital visit revealed more of Rebecca's story. She'd been a nursing student with dreams of becoming a doctor when pregnancy derailed her plans. The father, unwilling to sacrifice his own future, had vanished. Rebecca had dropped out to work, always planning to return, someday, eventually, when the immediate crises of survival allowed it. "I try so hard," she confessed one afternoon, her voice breaking. "I want to give her everything, dance classes, nice clothes, the books she loves. But there's never enough." Jonathan recognized the exhaustion in her eyes, had seen it in his mother's. The relentless mathematics of poverty, no matter how hard you worked, the equation never balanced. "She has everything that matters," he said quietly. "She has you." On the day of Rebecca's discharge, Jonathan made a decision. The past 5 days with Sophia had awakened something he'd thought long dead, the capacity to care, to connect, to see beyond spreadsheets and profit margins. "I have a proposition," he told Rebecca as she packed up her few belongings. "And I need you to hear me out before you say no." He outlined his offer, an apartment in a building he owned, in a neighborhood with good schools. A job managing the property, flexible hours, health insurance, stability. A chance for all of them to have something better than what they'd settled for. "Why?" Rebecca asked, suspicion warring with hope in her expression. "Why would you do all this for strangers?" Jonathan thought about the question. About the anniversary of his mother's death that had brought him to that exact street on that exact night. About how a child's faith had reminded him of who he'd been before ambition hardened him. About second chances rarely recognized until they've passed. "Because 12 years ago, I found my mother unconscious on our kitchen floor," he said finally. "Because I was too late to save her. Because she worked herself to death trying to give me opportunities, and I used those opportunities to forget where I came from." His voice broke. "And because your daughter walked through a snowstorm to find help. She chose me out of everyone on that street. Maybe that means something. Maybe we're not strangers after all." Rebecca studied him, really seeing him for the first time. "Okay," she said softly. "But I have conditions. I pay rent, even if it's minimal. I earn my job, not just have it handed to me. I need to know I'm standing on my own." "Deal," Jonathan agreed. Though I should warn you, Sophia's already informed me that I'm required to attend her dance recital next month. Apparently, I'm family now." Rebecca laughed through tears. She has a way of deciding these things. 3 months later, Jonathan sat in a folding chair in an elementary school gymnasium, watching preschoolers perform with varying degrees of coordination. Sophia, resplendent in blue sequins, waved frantically when she spotted him. Beside him, Rebecca squeezed his hand. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything." Jonathan squeezed back, watching Sophia spin joyfully in the wrong direction before giggling and continuing on. His phone buzzed with work messages, crises that once would have seemed urgent. He silenced it without looking. Later, driving home through gently falling snow, with Sophia chattering about her performance and Rebecca laughing at her daughter's enthusiasm, Jonathan finally understood what his mother had tried to teach him: wealth wasn't measured in acquisitions but in connections. "It's like that night," Sophia observed, watching snowflakes dance in the streetlights. "The night I found you, Jonathan." "No, sweetheart," he said, meeting Rebecca's eyes in the rearview mirror. "That was the night you both saved me." And in that moment, with snow falling like forgiveness and a child's trust healing wounds he'd never acknowledged, Jonathan Blake understood that sometimes the universe offers second chances disguised as emergencies. That sometimes, it takes a child's 5 devastating words, "Sir, my mom didn't wake up," to wake up a man who'd been sleepwalking through his own life. Thank you for following me on this journey. Kindly hit the subscribe button on your screen and leave your thoughts and comments below.